Alright, here we go. For one side. Okay, give me a sec. This side should be easier. Just, oh. Alright, one more. Make sure I don't cut myself. There we go. Alright. Now the moment of truth. See it? Yep, there's more cardboard. And ta-da! The uncut sheet. Oh, let me look this up. Alright, here we go. Feels kind of just like a poster. I don't really want to get my finger on the actual parts of where the cards are, but yeah, that's pretty much it. You got the altars, you got the altar leaders, and then of course the three mangas in the middle.
Wonton here, and I have something different. I have my good friend Luke here, who finished 8th at Nationals in LA this weekend, so congratulations to him. And he was kind enough to give us a quick rundown of his Enel deck. So there he is with his top 8 Nationals mat, and I guess I'll let Luke take it away.
Yeah, so I played Enel for the tournament, so before OPL 5 came out, this was the deck that I wanted to play. And then I had the most practice with, so I've been playing it throughout OPL 5, and it's the deck that I was most comfortable with, so I just decided to take it to Nationals. And yeah, I think it worked out for me. Yeah, so I'll just get started with the deck profile. So it's leader. Starting off, I had 3 Shuras. This card's great. This card's part of your early game, searches out any Sky Island card. But I'm only running 3 because I'm running some other tech cards, and I had to make some cuts somewhere, and I decided to run 4 Shirahoshis instead of 4 Shuras. So I'm doing a 3-4 split. But yeah, still a really good card. You want this in your early game and smooth out your curve. And then next up is, you know, you're pretty much all you want to do in the early turns is to spam Om Holy. This combo is like insane. It helps you go wide, puts a lot of pressure. And the thing about this is that normally your opponent can, like, you know, deal with it, right? But then they're spending so much dealing with it that it kind of gets to you to your late game. And your late game is where your deck really shines, when you're dropping 8 cost category, 9 cost Yamato. So it's like kind of like you know, a time kind of saver for you to get to your big cards.
So is there a reason you chose the Skype package over the Big Bomb package?
Yeah, so I tried the Big Mom package, and you know, I kind of liked that at first because you're just searching your big bodies very consistently, but overall the whole power level of the deck is not as high because you don't really have as much of an option to kind of go wide, which is why I like the Skypea version, where you have multiple angles of attack. Like, you can spam the board with a bunch of 5Ks, 6Ks, and, you know, just swing, or you can like go tall and play your 8 cost categories, 9 cost models. So yeah, so I think I prefer to sacrifice a little bit of consistency just for you know, more for the deck to have a higher ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah. So next up is 4 Blocker Sunji. This card is great. It triggers Out of Life. It's another 5k attacker, which is why I kind of like it over Brule, because you can put up pressure with this while also blocking. And late game, before, you know, before Amaru and Hellblaze was a thing, you can just like spam blockers in the late game, protect you, buy you another turn, and then go for game next turn. Because those cards exist, like, that's not really a viable strategy anymore. So I rarely really play this to kind of like as a blocker to kind of protect me. I don't think I ever did that in the tournament. But against the red decks, you can do that because they don't really have access to those things. So, and they don't really play things like, you know, Otamas or Fire Fist anymore to kind of clear clear. So against red decks, this is pretty good. But normally, like against any other deck, I'm just like turning this sideways and like swinging with it. Yeah. All right. And then next up is two rush categories. So this card is, I love this card. This card lets you, you know, close out games. It lets you can play this as like a body in the early game, and you can also like just play it and then swing into something to clear the board. And your opponent will usually never play around this card, so they don't really think about it. And so you know they might think that, oh, you're swinging into my character, I'm gonna counter out of it. That's your last swing, but then you just play this, and then suddenly your opponent has to pitch more cards than they wanted to, or you know they just kind of just have to let their character go. So yeah, really great card, Rush Katakuri. And then next card is 3 Gadatsus. I almost didn't want to play this card because like in against a lot of the meta decks like Purple Luffy, Sakazuki, this card just does almost nothing. They're always gonna play around it, and Purple Luffy is always taking live, so there's nothing to pop. But against like in the mirror, this card is pretty good because it lets you pop an Olm early, and then a lot of the rogue decks like RP Law, you know, just weird things like that, Gadatsu can still gain a lot of value. So you know, and it's just another target for Shuras to search. So you know, just more consistency for Shura. So I think 3 Gadatsu is fine. I don't want to see too many of it because just a lot of the meta decks I rarely play this out. And so next up is 4 Shirahoshi's. Shirahoshi's great. It lets you, you know, filter out your hand, and it's a card that you can put back with 8-cost Katakuri to heal up. And this card's been really clutch for me the whole day. And against my white bear opponent, I triggered this off my life while he was going for game, and really saved us. So yeah, Shirahoshi's great. And then next up is 2K counters, so 4 Satoris, 4 Beige, and 2 Kanes.
So standard 10 2Ks?
Yeah, 10 2Ks. Yeah, not much to say about this. You know, this is all pretty standard. The Kanes, I think some people cut, and I talked to some of my friends and they prefer El Thor over Kanes, but you know, I kind of just like the flexibility of being able to play on curve and not having to leave up a Dawn while having the 2K. But thinking back on it now, I might flip a Kanes for El Thor, just because in the mirror, kind of the meta is to, you know, when you're both dropping Yamatos and then one player swings into it, you can just attach a Bond Strip Dawn to try and clear their Yamato. Either they let it go or they like pitch a lot of cards. But if you have El Thor, it makes it really hard for them to clear your Yamato when you can just counter out with one card. So I might try El Thor instead of Kanes. And next up is the big card. So we got 3 Rush Enels. This card's amazing. I think against anything except red, Rush Enel is like really, really good. And obviously against Sakazuki, it's great because you play it down, it's a sticky body, they can't really deal with it, or like they'll try to deal with it, but then he'll still stick on board. So that's kind of all you want, is to have bodies on board to pressure Sakazuki players and then attempt to go for a game later with Amaru. So and this card is what I like to call something that's really good in a neutral situation where neither you or your opponent has, you know, the tempo on their side. You just play this out, you know, swing with it, and then like see how your opponent reacts, and then it's just a guy that's there. And next is the 2 7-cost Linlin. This is probably the best card to play in a neutral situation, because it doesn't really matter whether your opponent trashes life or your opponent gives you the life, it's still good for you. But when you're winning or your opponent's winning, this is probably the worst card because like you really need to gain a life, or you really want your opponent to take a life, but your opponent's never gonna allow you to do that. But so before I ran 4 7-cost Linlins, I didn't really like that because usually you just only play one. The game's never gonna stay in neutral for too long, so I think 2 7-cost Linlins is good enough.
And so how did you decide on the split?
Because
I know some decks run more or less of the other.
Yeah, I just felt like I could go down to 1 7-cost Linlin and then just run 4 Enels, but I just didn't really like the idea of, just playing a one-of, and especially for a card like Linlin, like this card is best when you play it on curve, like on 7 Dawn. So if I only have the one, it's like, how often am I actually going to be doing that, right? And at that point, like, I might as well cut the card. So, but I still really like it, so I'm just playing it as a 2 and then cut down the Rush Enel. And on that topic, Rush Enel, when you have just the one Enel, I think that's good enough. But if you have 2 Rush Enels, like that's a little bit redundant because you're not really going to take advantage of this, protection ability twice in a turn. So yeah, just having like different threats is I like having different threats. Yeah. And then next is 3 8 cost category. So this card is really cracked. You can heal, use him to heal. You can bottom deck like a 7 cost Borsellino or like a 7 cost Ace. Yeah, so this card sometimes is like the best card that you can play because like you really need to bottom deck that big threat. But sometimes it's like the worst because you have an empty board, nothing to put back into your life, and your opponent like just has like maybe a Sanji, and you don't really want to put that back into life. So it gets a little bit awkward in neutral situation. But then this card is really good when you're either behind on board or even when you're ahead on board to push yourself further.
So how important do you think it is to this deck? Because I know a lot of people are worried about the price of Katakuri because it's so expensive. So I've seen a few deck lists that just don't run it at all, like a budget version, quote unquote.
I can't really help like the budget players with that. Like you can definitely play without it, like just run more 7 cost Linens or Enels for sure. But sometimes you just really need to have a heal card in your hand because what that allows you to do is basically aggressively take life. Like your opponent has 3 swings, you're at 1 life. You just aggressively take, force your opponent to commit dawns to like try to go for game and then counter out that last swing and then just heal. So it enables plays like that where it's just kind of like, triggering stuff off of your life and then, kind of breaking your opponent's back by just like healing that life back. And now they have to do kind of the same thing all over again, right? So, and you can still get Yamatos and do that, but like just having more ways to heal yourself, I think is really important. So yeah, I just really hope that Bandai kind of reprints the earlier sets more so players can get access to this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then of course the all-star of the deck is 4 Yamatos. Not much to say, is the best card in the deck. You play it, you KO something, you heal, like it just does it all. So yeah. And then I'm running 2 events. So I'm running 2 Thunderbolts and 2 Amarus. And I see people cut Thunderbolt completely, but I like Thunderbolt mainly due to the fact that I'm running Rush Katakuri. So, sometimes when your opponents are like they put you on the same life as you, right? Like you have 2 lives, they have 2 lives. You can just use Thunderbolt to bring yourself down lower, play Rush Katakuri, and then swing into some 5k body, which happened to me in one of the games. And I think that won me the game because I removed a threat and then I swung in twice into something that was rested, and by that point I'm just like so far ahead on board that it just kind of carried me through the rest of the game. And then 2 Amarus is this card is just really good. You just hold it in your hand, wait for your opponent to be down to like 1 or like 0 lives, you use it, you go for game, and then yeah, it just wins you the game, honestly. Like this is part of your win condition. You just want to hold stuff like Rush Katakuri, Amaru, yeah, Thunderbolts, and just like this is how you kind of like close out games.
Okay, and that is Luke's deck list. Thank you for that. Luke, did you want to run us through some of your matchups?
Yeah, sure. So round 6, I play against Katakuri. That one, I think I misplayed a little bit. Basically, he played around Gadatsu really well. Like he never played out, his crackers or Sanjis for it to just get popped by Gadatsu. And he had a rested Peros, and I think I should have just used Gadatsu to clear the Peros instead of like swinging into it, and then just swing into like and I was worried about things like Thunderbolt triggers or like him triggering another body to swing with, but if he takes the life, I think I'm happy, and like even if he triggers, he's still trashing a card from his hand. So yeah, I think I misplay a little bit, and then he kind of just like, I never really had an aggressive start, and he was able to drop 10 cost Mon pretty safely, and I had no way to go for the game. So yeah, so that game, I took the L on that one. And then round 8, it was against Whitebeard. This one was also, it was pretty close actually. He chained 2 new gates, but I had, I think, 8 cost Katakuri, 7 cost Mom, and 9 cost Yamato on board. He had 2 new gates and he swung with one of them. And then what I did was just like swung big into his new gate instead of trying to go for life, because he had 2 lives at that point, so I need to get like 3 swings in. And sorry. And then and he just didn't have enough counters to protect his new gate when I swung 2 big swings into it with Yamato and 8 cost Katakuri. So I got it off the board, and then he tried to go for game with just new gate his leader and like rush Luffy or something, but I just had enough counters at that point to survive there and go for game after. And then round 9, I played against another Sakazuki. I forgot. Oh yeah, this one was actually really close. So we were just kind of trading back and forth. I was playing stuff, he was removing stuff. He played stuff, and I removed it with Yamato or like 8 cost category. I pretty much got him down to the 3 cards in hand. And yeah, I think at any point if he dropped 10 cost Kaido, he would have won. He told me like, he just didn't see it, so it was unfortunate for him, but I managed to pull through. I was still like playing down threats, and he just ran out of removal, so got the dub on that one. And then top 8 into another Zoro. And yeah, the first game I made a really big mistake. I went first again. They told me the matchup is better when the Zoro player does want to go second, but I still chose first, and I could have won that one, but he had a Nami on board while he was trying to go for game, and I was just trying. He had $5 left, and I just wanted him to use up all his dons to not leave up counters for like Rat Beam or Guard Pouring or anything like that. But I ended up just taking the life. But what ended up happening was he just Diablo Jambe the Nami and then Makino, and then like just went for game, went through my Sanji, and I just like, oh my goodness, I made a big mistake. But I had to collect myself, and I ended up winning the second game. And then the third game was really rough. My opening hand, I mulliganed, and then I drew a bunch of counters. And then early on, when he was swinging, I triggered a Maru off my second life. And it kind of feels bad, but I had to do it just to like filter out my hand, discard the non-counters, just to kind of survive that. Yeah, he ended up getting it. He had enough swings, 7k swings at me, and I just didn't have enough counters. And yeah, so that was the end of my tournament run. A couple big mistakes for me during the tournament, but overall, like, can't be
can't complain, right?
Can't complain. Yeah, this is way better than I would have never imagined to go.
Congratulations again. Yeah. And then, do you want to talk about some tech changes you might make against certain matchups?
Yeah. So I think Conus, like I mentioned, this can probably be a L Thor just to help protect the big bodies, especially in the mirror. And I think even in red, it can be really useful to kind of like counter out their swings. But the only thing about that is if you're starving out red, you kind of have to make sure that you get them down to at least 2 lives. Otherwise, you can't even use the L Thor. Or like, I forgot how it works. Like you still get the 2k, I think, but you don't get the extra 2k. So yeah. Besides that, not too much. I'm actually really happy with this list.
I think it's a good spread against most decks.
Yeah, okay. And I know that Jonas, the build that he ran, he plays like a really straightforward strategy and just tries to make that as consistent as possible. But I kind of like the more toolboxy approach where I have multiple angles of attack and just like have more options available to me. throughout the game. So I just want to shout out Nathan so I had no idea this was going on. Basically, while I was playing the Top Cup match, he was taking a bunch of pictures of me while I was playing and posting them towards our Discord server, and I was getting like overwhelming support in the Discord server. So like big shout outs to the community. I really felt the support, and I got really pumped up. And want to shout out to Justin, who theoried with me with the Enel matchup. I thought I knew a lot about the deck, but he proved to me that I didn't really know everything. So talking to him really helped me with my play the next day. And I want to shout out James for lending me his Dashback Shirahoshis. I had to return it, so they're not here right now. But yeah, they were clutch for me like the whole day. And yeah, shout outs to my fiance too for all the support that she gave me and reminding me to eat the granola bars.
And thank you again from myself and from everyone watching for doing this as well. And congratulations again for your top 8 finish. And hopefully we see you top more at future tournaments too.
Yeah, thanks for having me for this video.
All right, thank you. And thanks for watching, everyone. If you guys like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.